Hey, welcome everybody. We're going to continue our discussion. I think after this week, we probably only have one more shear before Purim, and then it'll be Purim. So thank God there's a lot of falafel, so there's a lot to get to. But we'll do the best we can. Um, so we were in the middle, just to bring us back to where we were last week. We're in the middle of discussing some of the mitzvahs that we do on Purim itself. And we mentioned uh, the like how many days, which day you're supposed to celebrate Purim, and who's obligated on Purim. And then we spoke about the obligation of Matanos Lavionim, giving money to poor people. And that's how we finished off last week's year. And this week we're going to discuss some of the other mitzvos that I remember when I was in school. I was in elementary school. They used to teach us a song about the four mems, that all of the mitzvos of Purim were four mems. So Matanos Avionim, Yisroch Manos, um, Megillah. Um, I'm missing the last mem. Mishta. They like the Su'uda, the meal of Purim. Those are the four mems. And they said all the mitzvahs of Purim start with the mem. So we've done one of them, and we have three more to do. Um, yeah, so which is we get to Mishlach Manos, we have to do the Mishnah, the Suda, Purim, and then we have to do Megillah. So, so let's get started. So first Mishlach Manos. Mishlach Manos means you send you send some food to your friend. Um, Usually is to send two items of food to one person. That's the essential mitzvah. But of course, the more people you send it to, the better. And you can either send two drinks or two foods or one food and one drink. There's discussion whether you need to send two types of food, or maybe you could just send two foods. Like I could just send two crackers. Maybe that's enough. Some say you could even take one. Like let's say you want to give someone a piece of meat, right? You want to give someone a piece of meat as your Mishloach Manos. So maybe you could. Some say you could even take a big piece of meat and cut into two, and that would be enough. But others say no, you need two different types of food, um, like two different items. But really, you should be sending something which is respectable. You should be sending something which is of value to both the sender and to the receiver. So there's a discussion. Why do we do this mishloach manos? Why do we have this thing that this mitzvah to send um, food to to other people, to our friends? Um, it's different than the idea of giving money to people who need it, of giving tzedakah. This is something different. So so there's two potential explanations, two school of thoughts. First is most famously by the Manus Halevi, and the second is the Trumas Hadesha. So first one is Manus Halevi. So he explains that the reason why we do this is that the Purim story took place because Haman criticized the Jews, saying that they actually don't get along with each other. And there's one pasuk, there's a verse in the Megillah which actually hints to this. The pasuk says, "Yeshno am echad." There's one nation, mifuzar, mifurad, which means dispersed and scattered, bein hamin, among the nations. So if you look at the words mifuzar, mifurad, we usually like the basic explanation means like we're scattered over the world, right? We don't have one place to live. But you can read that those words to meaning that we're mifuzar, we're scattered and dispersed among ourselves, meaning that the Jews lack unity. And that was one of Haman's criticisms of the Jews, is that they don't really get along with each other. So in order to demonstrate that this claim is not correct, Mordechai and Esther, they instituted the Mishloach Manos, the idea of sending food to one's friends, should be done. That you should give to one's friends and acquaintances to foster camaraderie and goodwill among the Jews. Um, Demonstrate friendship, right? And this way, by doing that, we show that we're not engaging in personal feuds. We're actually engaging in acts of friendship by gifting our food to other people. So, explanation number one is why do we send Mishloach Manos? To show unity and friendship among other Jews. That's the point. Explanation number two, the Trumas Hadeshin, he says that no, really the purpose is something else. Is that there's another mitzvah that we have to do is the that we mentioned is the mitzvah of the Sudas Purim, to have a big meal on Purim, a festive, lavish meal. And so some people don't have enough money; they're poor people, and so um, they they yeah, so we send mishloach manos, we send this food to make sure that everyone has enough at their meal and everyone can have a nice meal. And although some people are not poor, Chazal still instituted that mishloach manos, that these gifts of food should even be given to wealthy people, so we don't embarrass people who don't have enough. That's what the Chazal Sofer says. But that's essentially two explanations. Number one is to ensure friendship and camaraderie among Jews, and number two is to make sure that everyone has enough for their meal. So there are some so when we look at some of the halachos that may or may not be true, made in regard to mishloach manos, it all comes down to that discussion. Is it because are we sending it because our goal is to just increase camaraderie, or are we sending it because maybe we want to make sure that everyone has enough to eat? So that's why some people say that it should be something which is able to be eaten right away. Right? If it's just about increasing camaraderie, it doesn't necessarily need to be eaten right away. I'm still happy if I get a food that maybe I'm not going to make right now, but if it's in order to make sure everyone has enough at their meal, then maybe you need to send something which could be eaten right away. There's another discussion that you need to send it with a messenger. That apparently that when you send something with a messenger, it increases the amount of joy that you get. I don't know if it's true, but it's what they say, that when you get a gift from someone, it's not they don't only hand deliver it to you, but they actually send it with a messenger. It's even nicer. So maybe that's only true if you hold like explanation one, that it's to increase the love and friendship among Jews. But explanation number two, to just make sure everyone has enough of their meal, you don't need to send it with a messenger. You also just an important thing to remember, which I think a lot of people make a mistake, is that you really should send the mishloach manos, this gift, in the day and not the night, because that's when the mitzvah is in the day, not the night. Sometimes you want to get ahead of the game and try to hand it all out at the nighttime, but really you should wait until the day. What if you send it to a friend and he doesn't want to take it? Like I don't know, someone sends me raisins. What if I don't like raisins? So what about, do they fulfill their obligation? So that's probably also dependent about explanation one or explanation two, right? If it's just to I mean, you could argue that neither one has been fulfilled. But there are most says that you have fulfilled your obligation in that case, even if the other person doesn't want to take it. Others argue. A practical question that comes up, and then we'll move on to the next topic. So I saw in the OU they posted this question. I ordered a food package on Amazon 2 days before Purim with guaranteed delivery to my friend on Purim day. Do I fulfill the mitzvah of mishloach manos for such an arrangement? Okay, so again, the question is, you want to send someone an Amazon delivery, they're going to get their food on Purim. Have I done it? I ordered it 2 days before Purim. So what do we think? Yes, no? So the first line, they say, this is a matter of dispute, of course. It's always a debate, right? So they say that you do fulfill your obligation of Mishloach Manos. They quote a bunch of rabbis who say like that, poskim, However, the Aruch HaShulchan says that one does not fulfill their obligation with this arrangement. So what's this fight about? What's this machloket about? So the Ben Ish Chai, he explains that the reason behind this is perhaps the the difference in the explanations that we were giving, right? We gave explanation one and explanation two. Explanation one was to increase the love and camaraderie, and explanation two was to make sure that everyone had enough um, for their meal. So this is how he explains it, that if Mishloach Manus are to foster goodwill, in other words, explanation one, increase the love, then one must send the food on Purim itself, because sending the food is part of the mitzvah. But those who hold that it would work take the position that Mishloach Manus is for the recipient to have sufficient food for the Suda, which is explanation number two. They have enough for the meal. Hence, as long as the food is received on Purim, even if it were sent prior to Purim, the sender has fulfilled his obligation of Mishloach Manus, as the recipient will now have sufficient food for his Suda. So that's an interesting discussion. I assume the ideal is not to do it through Amazon. But if you have, maybe you can do enough people in person. If there are people that you're not with in person and you just want to send it to them, that then and you have to order 2 days in advance, that the more the better. So that's in regard to Mishloach Manos. Now we'll discuss the meal, the Seudah Purim. If anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute. You can interrupt. But in regard to the meal of Purim, so we say it's a mitzvah to have a Purim Seudah, a meal on Purim, because it says in the Megillah that these should be days of mishjeh, which means party, a meal of the simcha and joy. The Shulchan Aruch says that you cannot fulfill your obligation of having the meal at night. It must be done in the day, just like in the Manos, just like giving money to the poor. It all must be done in the day because the Megillah says yemei, meaning in the day. The Ramah does add that in the night, it's still good to be happy and to have a small meal. Some people actually say that you shouldn't have meat at night because you might confuse people and they're going to think that, oh, you're having a meat, you're having meat, you're having a nice meal. It must be that you can fulfill your obligation of having the meal at night. But the Shar Tzion says that it's all about what's normal in your place. It's normal to have a meal with meat at night, even if it's not your Suda, that's okay. Just follow whatever minhag there is. This I didn't know until this year that the Ramah quotes a minhag. I don't know if anyone heard this. To eat seeds on Purim night, to remember that Daniel and his friends ate seeds in Babel. And the Mishnah Berurah says that also Esther ate seeds. I don't know what that's about, but just wanted to share that there is that minhag. I don't know if the yeshiva has them to eat the seeds, but it's quoted in the Ramah and the Mishnah Berurah. You should also be a little bit happy on the day after Purim, Shushan Purim. So that's another thing. And then the Ramah, he writes that if you make your meal in the morning of
We
Purim,
eat the poppy seeds. We eat pop seeds.
oh, so that's the poppy seeds in
And
the
hamantash.
hamantashen. There you go. Okay, so make sure to have your poppy seeds, especially in the night, because that's when they say to eat the seeds. In my opinion, poppy seeds is not the best flavor of a hamantashen. I like apricot, but or chocolate's good too. But I'll stick to I'll stick to the script. But anyways, so the Ramah says that it's best to make your suda in the morning of Purim, but many people make their meal of Purim in the afternoon while there's still a lot of day after mincha, because in the morning they're busy, they're doing the mishloach manos and giving money to poor. But he does add, this is important, that the majority of your meal should take place in the day. You should do the best you can to do that, and you shouldn't just you shouldn't just allow people start their meal right before it gets dark, and basically they're having a meal the whole night. Meaning the night after Purim, right? Purim's that day, and that night they're basically having their meal. So you should really try to have your meal on the day. Um, what if Purim falls out on Friday? Well, it doesn't this year, but if it does, then most people say you should try to have it before midday. The You should, when you're having your meal, you should gather your family and your friends to make a suda because it's a beautiful line that the Mishnah Berurah quotes this in the name of the Shalach. He says, "I efshar lismoach karoi v'yachi," which means it's impossible to be happy as appropriate if you're just by yourself. You need to invite friends, invite family, because that's how you become happy. Um, you should you should start your meal with some Torah and not just rowdiness. Um, it's good to start with Torah when you start your meal. And this is a very nice idea based on the pasuk that we say should be familiar. If we say that at Havdalah, by Yehudim Hayitza Ora v'Simcha, which means by Yehudim for the Jews, Hayitza there was Ora v'Simcha. So Ora means Torah. So you're supposed to put first it's Ora, which is Torah, and then Simcha, which is joy. So you're supposed to put the Ora, you're supposed to put the light, meaning the light of Torah, before the Simcha, before the joy. So make sure to start your meal with Torah before the rest of the meal. It's also a mitzvah for every person to learn the laws of Pesach 30 days before Pesach, which is, if you look at the calendar, that's Purim. So you're supposed to start learning the laws of Purim of Pesach on Purim itself. So then, in regard just to while we're talking about the meal, we should add this part about drinking wine that many people have. Many people drink wine at their meal. So where does that come from? So the reason for drinking wine is quoted as all the miracles of Purim. Sorry, excuse me. All the miracles of Purim happened through a party, meaning a party with wine. That if you look at the story of the Megillah, a story of Esther, that the removal of Vashti as queen, that was during a party, which led to the appointment of Esther, and downfall of Haman happened through the party. So Chazal, the rabbis, they declared to drink wine on Purim to remember the great miracles that happened with wine. So this quoted by the Beer Halacha, who's on the side of his commentary on the side of the Shulchan Aruch on the Mishnah Berurah, and he explains that really this is, he says, kol zev a mitzvah v'lo la'akev, meaning it's good to do it, but it's not really necessary. So this is where we have a famous debate between Shulchan Aruch, who codified the halacha, but it's whenever you have almost always when you have a debate between the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah, so the Shulchan Aruch, the Sfardis will follow the Shulchan Aruch, and the Ashkenazis will follow the Ramah. So the Shulchan Aruch, just the Sfardis, all of us, unless the Ramah argues, the Shulchan Aruch says that you should drink until you don't know the difference between Arer Haman to Baruch Mordechai. So that's the famous line that he says, drink. So there's no difference between Arer Haman and Baruch Mordechai. So the Mishnah Berurah explains that. What does he mean by that? Not exactly what you would think. He says until you can't tell the difference between the different goodnesses, the different good that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did in the miracle of raising up Mordechai to destroying Haman, because basically he says you're going to be praising God so much that the whole miracle is just going to become like one in your mind. You're just going to be so thankful to God. That's the Shulchan Aruch position. The Ramah says that essentially you don't need to get drunk, is what he says. Rather, you should just drink a teeny bit more than you usually do, and then go to sleep. And when you are asleep, you won't know the difference between Arer Haman, meaning cursing Haman, and Baruch Mordechai, and blessing Mordechai. So, and then the Ramah says some can do more, some can do less. The most important thing he says is that your intention should just be for God. The Beis Yosef, who's really who's the Shulchan Aruch, but he's just his longer version. So he quotes that it's actually prohibited to get super drunk. And the Mishnah Berurah, he says that it is proper to do like the Ramah, meaning drink a teeny bit more than what normal for you, normal day, and then to rest. Then the Mishnah Berurah also says that everyone would agree that you should not get drunk if you know that you're not going to come to be careful about different mitzvos or if they're going to act inappropriately. So everyone should make a calculation about what's most appropriate for them to do on Purim and to make sure that whatever they're doing it with the right intent and to act appropriate when they do so. Um, some have the Ramah quotes that some have the minhag, they have the custom to wear Shabbos or Yontif clothes on Purim, and he says that that's the proper thing to do. But on Purim, you should wear nice clothes because it's a holiday. And the Mishnah Berurah says it's also proper to wear your nice clothes, like clothes up for Shabbos on the night of Purim, out of respect for the Megillah. And he quotes also that when you return home from reading Megillah, that you should make sure the candles in your house are lit and the table should be set. So that's um, that's an interesting halacha too. That you get back from reading Megillah, it says to do that. Also, just in regard to the joy of Purim. So, if you're ever wondering when did we start wearing costumes on Purim? So the Ramah he basically quotes that some people have the custom to wear these different things on Purim, these different outfits because it makes people happy. And because there's this idea that you should be happy on Purim, so that's why some people wear these costumes. Um, I've heard other ideas about why people wear costumes, about like hiding your true self. It really comes out, but for our purposes, for this year, that's the explanation we'll go with. Some people wear very fancy, nice clothes to remember that Mordecai got these nice clothes from the king when he rode on the horse. Um, the Ramah says that like different things that might not normally be permitted. During the rest of the year. But on Purim, if they're done in a reasonable manner, they might be allowed out of the joy of Purim. Like there's like some people who pretend to like steal stuff from their friends. Like normally would say never do that, or to wear like forbidden garments. Like if you have shotmaids, that you're not shotmaids kilaim, which is their abundant, which is only rabbinical, which we would tell you not to wear. But if it's part of your costume, because of this joy of Purim, that joy of Purim is so important that we let you do it. That's what he writes. Um, so we'll finish we'll start Megillah. The bulk of it, I think we'll wait for next week. Um, yeah. So yeah, and that I think is going to really be our last thing is probably just the Megillah. Any questions? Okay, so just we'll finish with a couple.
Wait, Roey?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, when did